Hi, everybody. I wanted to come on here and just do a Halloween painting with you. Halloween is just a week away, and I've already created this Halloween painting that we've been painting all month, but now we are not sure what we're going to paint for this weekend's Halloween event. So what I wanted to do was take a little bit of this painting and add some more different unique ideas to it and to change it up quite a bit. And create something new for us for Halloween this week, our Halloween paint event. So I'm Kimberly. Here's Coco. We're going to teach you how to paint a Halloween painting together, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use my large brush. I always start with a big brush first for the background colors. I'm going to start with the moon, and then I'm going to start to work on the outside and around the moon. Instead of doing my moon like an orange color with a little bit of red, I'm gonna do mine really light yellow. So on my plate, I've included all the colors that I need in my painting, which you can see here. So we've got purples, we've got blue and red to make purple if you don't have purple, and I've got yellow and I've got white, and I'm gonna bring out some of my black. And I always like to mix my black with another color, so I'm gonna mix my black with a little bit of dark blue. So I made sure I had a little bit of dark blue. I'm using paints from your local dollar store, or if you wanted to pick up paints from like a Michael's or Curry's or Dessert, something like that, you can do that as well. And it doesn't really matter because we're just doing this for fun, right? Coco's going to join us here. Hopefully she'll keep us entertained. So here's what I'm going to do. To start off with the moon, I want to have the moon white first. So the reason why I want to do that is we're going to make the moon white, and then we're going to go back to it and color it in after we've finished our whole sky. So we're going to just show where the moon's going to go by drawing a white circle. We're going to fill in the white circle, probably the same size as like a small bowl. And all I'm going to do is like draw a white circle. And you can't see this and that's okay because it's white on white, but I just want an idea of where my moon's going to go. Now I've just made my circle just about the same size as this. I always like just having a little bit of paint on the canvas just to show us where we're going to put something. So I've just created this circle here, and all I'm going to do is fill that in white. Now I kind of have an idea where my moon's going to go. There's a circle just about this big right here. That's where it's going to go. The next step we're going to do is we're going to start to work on the outside. So we want to start to work on the purples and the blues, and we're going to make the sky a little bit different than this. And all I'm going to use is a little bit of light purple first. So if you're interested in making your own purple, you can use a little bit of red and blue and a tiny bit of white, and you can get a little bit of a light purple. We're going to start to make swirls. Rather than making it like perfectly smooth around like this, I'm going to start to make like a swirl pattern. Again, we're taking this painting and we're going to add some things to it, change it up a little bit, but still make it something fun for Halloween. So here's what I'm going to do. I've taken some light purple, again, mixed a little bit of red and blue with some white, and made this really light purple. And I'm going to go around in circles all the way around, just as if I was doing this painting here, and I'm just going to go around and around. I'm not too concerned about having my moon shape perfectly because I'm going to go back to that and I'm going to make it the color that I want. We're going to go back to that after we're done the whole background. Now, as you go around the circle, you can start to add in maybe a little bit of a different color purple. Maybe you want to mix your own purple. I've got a purple that's pre-made. If you mix your own purple with a little bit of blue and red, you can do that. And we're just going to go around and see how I'm kind of sketching with this big brush all the way around until my whole sky is finished. I'm making it lighter to darker. So you can use, maybe if you want to go back to a light color, you can. If you want to use a little bit of a light purple, you can. You're going to continue around the whole canvas until your painting's completed. We're going to start working from the inside and go all the way out. We're going to go all the way to the bottom. As you're going around, if you want to decorate the sides of your canvas, you can do that. It's always nice to have your sides finished because your sides, when they're finished, you know you're going to hang this up on your wall. So you can add the sides of your painting in and just paint the sides as you go. And I'm going to paint this whole thing. The only thing I'm going to do differently is that this has a little bit more of a purpley black background. I'm going to start going from a little bit of a purple to maybe a little bit of a blue color. So I've added a little bit of a more of a blue purple. So I've added a little more blue to my purple, and I'm going to make it more blue by just going around the edges with a little bit of blue. Now you can use different colors of blue. You can mix your blue with a little bit of purple. So we're kind of getting a little bit of a different sky color here. I'm going to go all the way to the top. If you find your paint's getting a little bit dry, you can always add a little bit of water, mixing in the water with it. And I'm going to go all the way around and keep going. Maybe I think I'm going to go back to a little bit of purple. That's fine too. Add a little purple on there. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of my dark purple. I kind of want it to look like it's gone from like light purple, and then I'm going to get really, really dark down here. So I'm going to start to add in a little bit more of that dark purple. And I'm going to paint the whole thing all the way around in circles, in rings. Some are blue. Maybe I'm going to go back to blue here. Ooh, this is nice and bright. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Maybe I want it a little bit darker at the bottom. So I'm going to add some dark blue and like purple. And I'm going to go all the way around, all the way until you're finished your circle. The reason why we're doing this way is because we want to start with the background color first. So as we're painting and you're breaking down a painting into step by step, you always want to look at what is the part that's the furthest distance away. And usually that's the background. And that's why we start with the background first. It allows us to give us cover on the whole background, and then we can start drawing and painting our elements on top. So I'm just going to cover all that up. I think I might add a little bit of more light purple. You can go back over it in areas if you want. And I'm going to go back down here. I'm adding in purple. You can do the sides as you go. But we're getting kind of this swirly color around here. I think down here I'm going to mix a little bit of my blue and purple together. Let's get a nice dark color. And this is going to be nice because we're going to have the whole canvas covered, so we can start to add on our other elements. The fun part is when you decorate it. So the first part is just getting the background done, and then we've got the fun part, which is like decorating it, adding the little characters to it. And see how fast I'm going? You could take your time with this. This is just like for our demonstration purposes, but we want to actually get the whole thing nice and covered. If you're to look up close, you want to make sure that you have like everything covered. There's no white pieces of canvas showing. You've really got a good coverage of paint. So adding a lot of paint to it is better than having less paint. So you just want to make sure, even if you have to go back over it a little bit, or take a little bit of water on your brush, dab it out a little bit, and you can just blend in some of that color on your canvas, because you want to make sure that it's all blended in. I don't see any background canvas coming through, and that will really make a difference when it dries, because you really want to have it like nice and dry and nice and like ready to, well, if you're going to sell it or something like that. But it's nice to hang up on your wall because you know you've got nice coverage, and it will dry a little bit differently. So you want to make sure that you have enough coverage for when it is dry, and that you have enough coverage so that when you can hang it up. So here we go. So this is kind of looking fun. I think what I'm going to do is actually add a little bit of white to it. I'm going to take a little bit of like white and a little bit of color. Hi, Coco. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did when I first started. I'm going to just draw these circles going around. Yes, Coco's here. I'm going to create this kind of like circle, and I'm going to go all the way around. Maybe you can add a little bit of water with your white. And I'm just going to add this going all the way around, just to kind of make something different here. So the sky's slightly different than this. We've got more of a purple color and a light purple going down to a darker blue and purple color. I might even take this color. I'm just washing my brush in between. If I go to a light color, I always like to wash my brush. If I'm going to a dark color, I don't really need to wash my brush. I'm just gonna get that nice and dark. You can always add like a little touch of black to this if you wanted to, just to make it even darker. I'll show you what that looks like. If you just took a tiny, 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 tiny bit of black, and you can darken it up like that if you wanted to make the bottom a little bit darker. Just remember, if you're using the black, just apply like a little bit. You don't want to have too much or else the whole thing can go really, really dark, and then you have to start over again with a lighter color. So I'm just going to wash my paintbrush out really well. Sometimes I just dab the paintbrush in the bottom of the cup to get all the paint out, and then I wipe it on the paper towel in front of me. I'm going to add a little bit more white here. I'm going to kind of make these like swirls around it, around the center. And then we're going to make the center like a really, really, really light yellow moon. And we'll do this pattern again. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, so we've got the background pretty much done. I'm just going to add a little bit more white to my plate. And all I want to do is then I'm going to start to add in a little bit of yellow and white to the moon there. There we go, got lots of color. And I'm going, for the moon, I'm actually think I'm going to switch to a smaller brush just because I don't want to have any of that purple color in my moon. So just to be safe, I'm going to put my brush back in the water. And I'm going to take just a little bit of yellow and some white, mix it together on my plate, and I'm going to make this, see how light that is? You can barely see it, but I'm going to just make this really, really light yellow. And all I'm going to do is go right over top where my moon was before, where I put that circle, and I filled it in with a little bit of yellow. I might just put a little more yellow on the edges here. So now it kind of looks like it goes from a little bit darker to lighter. Darken that up just so you can see it. Maybe one side of the moon rather than having it orange. We've just made it yellow and white. And I'm going to take that yellow and white color, and all I'm going to do is the same thing I did with the white circles, and I'm going to use the yellow and white to make those colored circles. So I'm just going to kind of go around with a little yellow and white. And as I go around, it's kind of blending in with the purple as I go. And I'm just they're kind of dashes. They're actually not really full circles, but as you can see, I'm just making little dashes as I go around. This is looking kind of neat. So I'm going to use this for the background. So you can see I've kind of done their dashes as they go around. They're not necessarily like, it's not like a full circle pushing the whole brush down the whole time, but yet more of like I'm just dabbing it as I go. And I'm going to go back to the center. I think I'm going to add a little bit of white paint to the middle. I just want to get this like nice moon color. So I've added a little bit more white up here. As you can see, that it goes a little bit white and then a bit more yellow. Just for contrast, for this painting with you, I'm going to add a little more yellow here, almost like a little bit of like a C shape, and then the top is white. So just a little bit of a C shape here. If you wanted to, you can add a little bit more white. You can just play around until you have your moon. You can go make these rings go out, you know, a few inches if you want, something like that. And I'm just going to go back and add a little bit of yellow. I just want to make sure that that moon kind of gives that edge. Now I kind of can see the moon and there's a little bit of an edge to it, okay? So here's what's next. In order for us to, we're going to do a tree, but we're going to make the tree a little bit different this time. When I do when I use a black color, I always want to mix it with another color. So this time I'm going to mix the black with a little bit of blue. Here I mix the black with a little bit of the purple color, just to tone down the black a little bit and make it a little more rich. And all I want to do is actually, I'm going to use the same medium brush, rinse it out a little bit so it has no white on it. And I'm going to mix a little bit of my black and my blue together. I'm going to make this tree just slightly different than the tree before. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. Some of the, branches are going to be a little bit different, just to kind of try something new. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in the same area. We are still going to put a little bit of a fence in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my tree over a little bit more than what it is here, because there's only a little bit of room for the fence, and I'm going to make a fence with 3 fence posts. So I'm going to move my tree over just a little bit more. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my tree. We're going to put a cat in our tree, like sitting in our tree, as well as an owl. So I want to make sure that I have like the branches and the space in order for me to put the characters, and there's enough room for, say, like a spider web or like a ghost around it. And we're going to start to add in all the really spooky Halloween elements to it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my tree. I think I'll make my tree go all the way up to the top. And as you can see, I'm filling it in with this black, and there's a little bit of blue. Kind of makes it a little bit of a gray color. That's perfect. I'm going to draw like one of these branches coming out like this. As I get up to the top of here, I kind of use my brush and just kind of lift off slightly just to kind of give it a little bit of a point at the end. I don't know, I think we're going to put like maybe our cat over on this side. I'm making these nice thick colored lines. Again, I'm making this tree a little bit different. I'm just kind of playing around. I'm not too worried about exactly how it looks. We're just kind of having fun with this. And I might just add in another branch up here. And this tree branch is going to go all the way to the top. And I'm going to color this in black all the way to the bottom till it's all filled in. And I think I'll give it a little bit of a ground, maybe like this. We might add a couple pumpkins to the bottom. So I'm just doing like maybe an inch or 2 from the bottom. A little bit different than the painting. Beside the painting over here, of course, our tree is quite small. And then we put the ground a little bit, we put the ground all the way across, and the tree was a little bit off center here. Here our tree is a little bit more in the middle. And the fun thing about doing these paintings is that each time you can adjust the object, so it makes the painting look a little bit different. Or if you wanted to add a different color, it's going to make it different again. So here we go. And if I was painting and we were together painting and taking a little bit more time, I'd be painting the edges of my painting as I go, because you really want to have that finished piece for when you hang it up. Because I know you're all going to be hanging this up. So I've kind of got these more, I'm going to make these more jagged, these branches. I'm going to make them a little more jagged. Like these ones are kind of like wavy. These ones are going to have more corners to them. I'm going to make them a little sharper at the corner. And we're just going to make this like this. So I'm just making them a little sharper at the corners. We can put an owl up here. Maybe we're going to put like a couple ghosts. We might add, or we'll maybe add a little cat sitting over here. And I'm really going to just make those branches a little more crooked, just to give it a different feel, different look. I love the bats in the moon. I think we're going to keep the bats. I'm going to just add a couple more branches here. So I'm kind of making them a little bit more crooked. And I'm going to leave enough room here. I'm going to put an owl here. I'm going to put a cat here. I might hang a spider down here, a couple pumpkins, and maybe we'll do a fence. So I want to leave enough room. So I don't want to do too many branches, but I want to leave enough room to put my characters in. So I've left enough room here, enough room here. We could put some bats in there, and I'm already loving this tree. The one great thing about doing the tree is that when you take your small brush, you can start to add in the smaller branches. So maybe you have like a tinier branch that's coming out here. You maybe want to add like smaller branches, and that's fine. This one, I wanted to give this one a different feel. This has got a lot of tiny branches. This one, I'm going to keep the branches kind of thick and angled. There's still room for my cat that's going to sit there. And I'm going to just, I've got one branch coming out here. Just want to darken this one up a little bit. And I think I'm going to go back to my medium brush, just give it a little more paint. Looks like a couple areas need a little bit more paint. Again, I'm making these kind of angled branches. Okay, there's a little more paint needed in here. And you can always go over it. Again, we've got white under here, so this might end up coming through your tree. So you want to maybe do like an extra couple of layers in this section here. And the next part, all we're going to do is we're going to start to draw in our characters. So the first thing I want to do is actually start with some pumpkins. I think it'd be really fun to like add some fun pumpkins in here. I'm going to move away from doing the cemetery. I wanted to make this more fun and kid friendly. So we're going to add a little couple pumpkins, and we're going to put a couple of ghosts and maybe our cat and an owl and a few bats. We can always add a little spider and decorate it any way we want. So this one's really fun for the kids because they can choose what parts they want to put in and where they want to put them. So what we'll want to do is give those kids like an opportunity of variety of what they want to add in. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to add in, for right now, I'm going to add in my owl. I'm going to start putting in the shapes first, and we're going to decorate it with this nice glowing, like the glowing eyes and the glowing mouth at the end when everything's dry. I always want to make sure everything's dry before we add any like bright colors like that. And I'm going to make my owl quite big. This one's quite a big owl. He's just going to sit right here. And I think I'm going to give him like a little bit of a wing. And he's going to have a tail. And I'm going to give him a head with a circle. And then maybe 2 ears. Amazing. And he's going to have like a couple glowing eyes. The other thing that we're going to work on is actually we're going to add in a cat in here as well. So the really cool thing about the cat is I'm just going to show you, I've got a cat image that we can use. So here's a great way to do a cat, okay? So I'm gonna use the cat, I'm gonna do the cat on the opposite branch over here, maybe hanging around. And here's my cat. He's gonna have like, almost like a teardrop body. He's gonna have an oval head. And I'm gonna give him a couple ears. And he's got to have that curly, curly cat tail. So if you want to do something small like a cat tail, you can either use the back of your brush, or if you want to use the bristles, that's fine too. If the bristles are too thick, you can always take a pair of scissors and cut them on an angle to give you that more of a point. And all I'm going to do is maybe just add a curly tail here. Like that. So there's my cat. And we're going to add a little bit of highlights to it as well as we go. So now we've got our cat, we've got our owl, and we're going to start to add in the elements of our pumpkin. So let's do that. So the pumpkins, again, we can do the same thing that we did here, where we just draw two shapes that are just a little bit of a hint of a different color than the background. So these ones have a little bit of an orange tinge if you were to look up close. So the black is just a little bit contrasted rather than having just black on black. We can actually just see the pumpkin stand out just slightly. So with this one, I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of red to my black and maybe a little bit of orange. So I've got orange and red and black. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a couple pumpkins. I'm thinking I want to add like maybe 2 pumpkins on this side and 1 over here. I'm gonna add a fence in here, and then I'm gonna put 2 pumpkins over here. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw the shape of the pumpkin in that reddish orange color with a little bit of black. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. So I've got another pumpkin that's gonna sit here. Like that. And now though, that's my 2 pumpkins, okay? Your pumpkin shapes, they kind of like, you can draw like a circle for a pumpkin, or if you wanted, you can kind of draw the top that looks like the top of a heart and the bottom of a heart. So you can do that shape as well that I've done here. And that's at the top and the bottom. And I'm gonna just draw 2 in 2 different sizes. I wanted to give like a little bit of variety, so I'm gonna do a couple different sizes. And then of course, if you want to, you can add the top of your pumpkin stem on top of your pumpkin. So you can just see those faintly, that's fine. All we're gonna do next is we're gonna actually start to incorporate some of the other colors. We wanna put in some bats, we wanna add in some highlights, and we wanna add in our fence. Actually, let's do our fence next. So for our fence, I'm gonna do my fence with a little bit of blue and black. How's that, Coco? Good? Blue and black. And so we're gonna make our fence, rather than 2 posts, we're gonna make it 3. So here we go. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw 1, 2, 3 posts. And Coco just said tickle. And we're gonna just draw a line just underneath the fence posts across, and we're gonna draw 2 of them. So you just want it to go underneath the fence post. You don't want it too high. And then underneath the fence post, just like that. Excellent. We're gonna start to add in some highlights to our tree as well. If you look at this one, we've got a little bit of the moon color shining on the tree. So it looks like the moon is shining onto the black. So we're gonna add a little bit of that before we start to get into our lighter colors. But just while I have black on my brush, I think I'm gonna draw a couple of bats. If you wanna add in your bats, you can put them in the moon. I mean, you could put them down here if you wanna do one here, maybe here and here. That's what I'm gonna do with this one. I'm gonna put the bats somewhere different. Again, we wanna take this idea, but we're gonna just change it up for this season. And all I'm gonna do to draw a bat is I'm just gonna make like a shape of an M, just like you would like a bird. And then I'm just gonna add in the wings. And you can make these bats as big or as small as you want. I'm gonna do them quite large just so you can see. And I'm gonna just add in the tail and the ears. So there you go. There's also another way to do a bat if you wanted to change the style of the bat and do something different. You can make the bat like this. You could draw a little different shape of a bat, so the wings are kind of like wavy. I'm gonna stick with this kind of bat. I'm gonna draw one more. I mean, you can decide on where you want to place these. That's the fun part of it. The painting is once you have the background done, you can put your tree wherever you want. You can make it as big or as small as you want, and then you can add those bats in wherever you want. So I'm going to make this bat quite small. And Coco's giving us a kiss. And I'm just gonna do another smaller bat up there. Again, we don't have to be perfect. We're just enjoying practicing how to paint here. So now here's one other thing. I think once I take a minute and I can look back at my painting, I can see that there's maybe sections that I want to improve on as far as the tree goes. So I'm just gonna add in a little bit more here with the tree. Coco's just having fun here. Are you okay there, bird? Huh? And then I'm just gonna add in a little bit more here. Yeah, that looks kind of fun. Again, you can go over it anytime, you know, if there's something where you think that you want to go over it at another time, you can always go back to it. Kind of making this look a little bit more. And maybe there's another branch coming down here. Don't be afraid to just add in like other branches or colors. You got to try these things or else you don't know how they'll look, right? And you can always go back and try it again. So this is like a great way to practice this. You know, you can rewind this video, try it again. If there's something else you want to try, or if you want to try it all over again, you can definitely try it from the beginning, or you can just rewind it and then play back from the section that you wanted to see and improve on. I'm just going to add that in there. Sometimes if your paints are just a little bit dry, you can add just a tiny bit of water. It'll help it smooth around. And all I'm going to do is something like that, just to fill in that space a little bit. Okay, excellent. This is really coming along nicely. I think I'm going to just widen up this bottom part here. And now what we're going to do is, since we've got all the darker elements completed, I'm going to take a little bit of white and gray, and I'm going to start to add in the highlights. So pretend the moon is shining on the tree, and all I'm going to do is take a little bit of a light gray color. I'm going to go along the edge of my tree. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to make it lighter just for you to see. You can even add white right on top of it. Anywhere where you think the moon might be shining up on the branch, you're going to add a gray color. You can make it, you could even add like a lot of white. It's up to you. But I'm going to make it like a nice light gray all the way across. And here we go. And I might just do a little bit more of that down here. And maybe some here. I might put a little bit of a highlight on my cat's shoulder, maybe a little bit around the side of the head, just to kind of make it look like the sun or the moon is shining right onto them. Maybe there's a little bit on my owl here. And I'm just adding a tiny bit. I'm going to add some down this side of this tree. If you make it a little too white, you can always go back and add your black back over top. So that's the easy part. So I find like this part here, I made it quite white. I probably would go back and I would just add in a little bit of black again. Just to kind of lighten that or darken that up again. And then I might do it this side too. And I'm just going to add in a little bit of white. This is looking good. Maybe I'm going to add a little bit on the ground. You can add a little bit on the side of your pumpkins, the top of your pumpkins as well. So the moon is now shining down. You start to see that kind of glow look, right? And you also want to do it on your fence too. So you can add a little bit of a highlight on top of the fence, on top of the black, along the sides of your fence post. And along the top here. And just kind of sketching it in. And I think that looks pretty good. I think I might add one bit more of the light gray over here. again, if you wanted to, you could always take your brush and flip it upside down, and you can actually use the end of your brush if with no bristles, if you wanted to get into some of the smaller areas. For me, I've got a pretty good small brush here, so I'm okay. But I think I'm gonna just add a little bit here on this branch. I just wanna get all those branches looking like the moon is hitting them. So we've got pretty much every branch done. See how that really brings it to life and makes it pop? And again, if you wanted to, you can always go back over top. Maybe I'm gonna just add a little bit more on my pumpkins, tiny bit on my stems, a little bit on my hill, maybe on this part of the hill too. Very cool. Awesome. Now here's what we're gonna do next. In order for us to have this really cool glowing effect, we need to mix two colors together. We're gonna mix together yellow and white. Now, the one thing about yellow and white is we wanna have an extremely clean brush. So you wanna make sure you're using this brush that you've just used for the black and really, really wash it out. I mean, just double check on the paper towel that there's like no black or any colors coming out of it. It's nice and clean, and you're ready to apply the yellow and the yellow and the white. So you have to add white in order to make it glow. If you were to just put the yellow, it's not going to give it the same effect, because what will happen is the yellow is just going to go on top of the black and it might blend in with the black. The thing about the white paint is white kind of acts as a barrier between the two colors. So you'll have your black, and because it's mixed with yellow, it's going to sit on top rather than the yellow blending in with the black. So here's what we're going to do. I mixed a little bit of yellow and white on my plate, and I mixed it with a brush, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my brush around, and I'm gonna use the opposite end to actually put the paint onto the canvas. So here we go. I'm going to draw a couple of the eyes on my owl. I'm using the end of my brush with no bristles. I just really wanna get enough paint on there, and I'm gonna just lightly dab 2 dots for the eyes. Just like that. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with my with my cat. So I'm going to add a couple little eyes on my cat. And I'm going to do the same thing with my pumpkin. So we've got like a couple pumpkins down here and down here. I've used a triangle and then a jig-jaggy mouth with the same thing, with the same idea. I've used the back of my brush, and I've used the back of the brush, and I've drawn in the shapes. So you might have to dip your paintbrush into the white and the yellow a couple times in order to get the color to really come out. But you want to make sure you have enough of that color. I'm doing more eyes here. Again, you might have to draw it in or turn your brush a little bit just to get all the paint off of all corners. And I'm just going to draw a little mouth. Just some zigzags. Yellow and white, always mixing the two colors together before I put it onto the paintbrush. And you can make the mouth any way you want. And we've got both of our faces. We've got our cat, we've got our owl. And the last thing that I want to do is we might want to add a little couple ghosts in there. I don't know what you're thinking, but I think I'm going to add in a couple ghosts. If you want to add it in, you can. If not, then that's fine too. But I'm going to put it in for us and then see what it looks like. I'm going to add a small ghost here and maybe one here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle, make it look a little bit like a ghost at the bottom, and we're going to add black eyes. So we're going to do the opposite of what we just did. We're going to add the light color first and then the dark color for the eyes. So we're going to do a white body of the ghost, and then we're going to add in the darker color for the eyes. I think I might make a happy ghost here. I'm going to just add in a little bit of a circle color, or sorry, a circle with some white. I'm gonna make it a little bit angled so it looks like it's floating. You could always add in a little bit of the purple color to the bottom. Just to make it look like it's floating through the air. And then like we did with our other shapes, we use the back of the brush. I'm gonna use the back of the brush for the ghost, except I'm gonna use black and blue this time. Or a black and another color, maybe you can use purple. I'm gonna use black and blue. And I'm gonna add in, I'd probably wait for the ghost to dry a little bit. And I'm just gonna add in 2 dots, maybe they're oval eyes, like this. And if you wanted to, you can add a little smiley face and make it really fun. I think I'm gonna do that for this painting. I'm just gonna add a little more black, or maybe he's just got like a circle mouth. He's a little bit scary and surprised. So I'm just gonna add in a face like that. Now you can always make your ghosts anywhere you want. You can add them, you know, anywhere, maybe one's floating in here. So let's try that as well. Again, I'm gonna use a little bit of white. I'm gonna draw my ghost floating in here. And he's got a circle head and a wavy body, and he's flying in on the side. And I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a little bit of purple underneath the bottom, just to kind of give him a little bit of a shadow here. And now this guy's flying in too, so I'm going to give him also a really cool face using the back of my brush. And again, I'm using like a little bit the ending of my paints here. So I think I'll give him a circle and a circle and a little face like that, and he's flying in on the side. And that's pretty much it. So all I've done is I've taken the painting here that we did, and we just changed it up a little bit, added a couple new things to it, tried to make it a little bit fun. Again, if you wanted to use like put the cat here and the owl here, you can always change it up or add in like any shapes or multiple items of what you want and make it your own creative painting. So if you wanted to, you could even add little yellow eyes to the bats. And if you wanted to, I did have some small flowers along the bottom. You could always add that in as well. But I think for this painting, I'm just going to leave it as is. And that's pretty much the end of the painting. So Coco and I thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about what we do and what I do, she doesn't paint, what I do, please visit www.kimberflydesign.com to learn more. And I hope you had a great time watching, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.